is Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Here now, Tony Brueski.
If you've been following the disappearance of 9-year-old Melodee Buzzard, you've probably had the same gut reaction the rest of us have had. How in the world is the one person who was last seen with this child not sitting in a jail cell? How does a mother return home from a multi-state road trip without her daughter, give law enforcement zero verifiable explanation about where she left her, refuse to cooperate, swap license plates, put a wig on the kid, and somehow still walk through life untouched by a single charge connected to the disappearance? How does that happen? How is that even legally possible? It sounds insane. It feels impossible, but it's not. And once you see the timeline and legal mechanics, piece by piece, you start realizing the horrifying truth. The law is built in such a way that even the most suspicious parent can walk right through its gaps if certain thresholds aren't met at certain moments. It's not corruption. It's not incompetence. It's the cold reality of the criminal justice system as it is supposed to operate. At least it's how we allow it to operate, and how it's stacked in the favor of liberty. Even when liberty looks like someone escaping accountability. So let's walk through this form of liberty from the beginning. Because the timeline is everything. And it starts months before Melodee ever vanishes. For years, this child has been effectively off the grid. Not legally missing, not officially endangered, but socially invisible. The mother, Ashley Buzzard, has been described by extended family as mentally unstable, isolating, paranoid, and controlling. You know, all the qualities you want in a mom. They say she kept Melodee away from them for years, but here's the thing. None of that is a crime. Being a bad parent isn't a crime. Isolating your child isn't automatically a crime. Families fight. Parents pull kids out of relationships all the time. The system can't step in unless someone reports abuse, or unless a child is visibly injured, or unless there's something concrete to investigate, or you got the luck of the draw and the CPS person that's coming to see you gives a shit. Or doesn't have their hands already tied by the system, that rather would check a box and keep the system moving than actually be accountable for the children it is supposed to protect. So for years, Melodee lived in a gray zone, just like millions of children are right now in our country. But we don't talk about them until they're dead or missing. Q. Brooks and Dunn. Only in America. Where everyone around her knew something was wrong, but everybody had enough evidence to get law enforcement involved. Or nobody, rather, had enough evidence to get law enforcement involved. Or when they tried to, it didn't quite check those boxes. Liberty. This is where the system takes its first hit. You can't protect a child you can't see. And if you can't see a child whose parent knows how to keep eyes away. Then we get to the moment everything cracks. Melodee disappears. She's not at school. She hasn't been at school in a long time because her mother claims she was homeschooling her. But in California, homeschooling requires paperwork. A private school affidavit, a declaration, something. And investigators say they don't have any of it. Not one legal document tying this child to the educational program she was supposed to be at. Is that concerning? Yes. Is it disturbing? Absolutely. Is it illegal? Only if they catch you. Only if the state proves she willfully violated compulsory education laws. And even then, that's a misdemeanor at best. And it doesn't locate a missing kid. So again, the system sees smoke, but has no legal fire. Then comes October 7th, the moment everything changes. Surveillance footage shows Melodee in a wig, standing next to her mother at a rental car counter. They get into a white Chevy Malibu. They leave town. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows the destination. But what we do know, because law enforcement eventually pulls surveillance and digital breadcrumbs together, is that this wasn't a trip to grandma's. This was states away, days long, and somewhere along that route, Melodee disappears. Not in a dramatic crime scene sort of way. We don't really know, quite honestly. Not in a blazing headline. Quietly, in the cracks. And her mother drives home alone. You know, like you do when you go take a multi-state road trip with your small minor child and return home without her, telling no one where she is. And here's the moment we all scream at. Why wasn't she arrested right then? Because shockingly, and I know this sounds insane, it is not illegal to return home without your child. Not unless you cross a very specific legal threshold. A parent can travel with a child, come home without the child, and the state cannot automatically assume harm. If the parent says, she's with a friend, she's with a relative, I dropped her off with someone. Even if that story is vague or suspicious or unverifiable, the law does not automatically consider that a crime. And apparently they don't have many levers to look into it further. Now, you and I hear that and think, that's insane. But the justice system thinks, where's the evidence of wrongdoing? Because the law cannot punish suspicion. It cannot punish bad vibes. It cannot charge someone based on the likelihood that they harmed their child. Prosecutors need a body, an injury, a witness, a video, a confession, digital evidence, something that transforms this looks bad into this is provable. And people like Ashley, we've seen it time and time again with many others. They know how to ride that line of this looks bad basically into the sunset. So Ashley comes home October 10th. No Melodee, no story that can be fact-checked. She's calm, she's controlled, she doesn't confess to anything, she doesn't explain anything, she doesn't crack, and the law cannot make her talk. This is a loophole that shocks the world. A parent has no legal obligation to cooperate in the disappearance of their own child. Morally reprehensible? Yes. Legally enforceable? No. Unless you can prove obstruction. And obstruction requires an actual provable act of hiding evidence or interfering with an investigator. Silence doesn't count. Then investigators make the discovery that blows this whole case wide open but still doesn't equal a charge. The rental car had its plates swapped. It's not an accident. That's not something a dealership does. Someone had to physically remove a California plate and replace it with a New York plate that didn't match the vehicle, then swap it back before returning it. That screams of concealment now, doesn't it? It screams of intent, but again, and this is where people throw their hands up, intent is meaningless unless you can tie it to a specific crime. What crime did the plate swap commit? Did she avoid a toll? Did she avoid a camera? Did she cross state lines to abandon the child? Did she commit a kidnapping? Did she commit murder? The public sees a plate swap and sees guilt. The law sees ambiguity. Unless prosecutors can prove what she was trying to conceal and tie that concealment to an actual criminal act, they cannot charge it. You can say it looks shady. You can say it screams of criminality. But in court, prosecutors must show beyond a reasonable doubt that the act was committed to further a specific criminal offense. And they don't have that link yet. And you got the wig. The disguises, the weirdness. Why would a 9-year-old child need to be disguised? Why would her mother want her unrecognizable on a cross-country trip? It's horrifying. It's screaming at us. But again, not illegal. Parents dress kids however they want. even in ways that look like they're trying to conceal a child's identity. Everything about this case is like that. Legally slippery, insane to the public, but technically permissible in isolation. And then, just when investigators think they finally have something, that separate false imprisonment case, it gets filed. It has nothing to do with Melodee, but it gives law enforcement leverage. They arrest Ashley. They get her devices. They get access. They think maybe they can squeeze something out of her. They think maybe this will be the crack in the ice. And then it collapses because Ashley recorded the damn thing. And whether you think she's manipulative as a planner or someone who chronically records everything, it doesn't really matter. The audio contradicted the accusation, and the judge listened. The judge didn't hear fear, didn't hear confinement, didn't hear criminal behavior, and so the judge dismissed it. And with that dismissal, the state loses its only mechanism for keeping her on a leash. Now she's walking free again. And you can almost feel the collective frustration. How can this be happening? How can a system look at this mountain of red flags and say, sorry, nothing we can charge her with? Because the law demands evidence of harm, evidence of intent, and evidence connecting the parent's behavior to a specific criminal act. And right now, the public knows more about the concerning behavior than the provable behavior. Prosecutors don't have a body. They don't have a confession. They don't have a witness. They don't have a camera showing Melodee being handed to someone. They don't have a cell phone ping proving she was abandoned somewhere. They don't have a statement from Ashley acknowledging that she left Melodee in a dangerous situation. Until they get one of those things, the case is stuck in a holding pattern. Horrifying, heartbreaking, morally outrageous, but legally frozen. You want this changed? Get better legislators. Because the system is working as directed right now. If you're outraged, then call your Congress people. And this is the true failure here. Not a failure of investigators, not a failure of effort, not even a failure of the courts. It's a failure built into the structure of child protection laws themselves, or lack thereof. Because the law is built to protect liberty first, children second, and it relies entirely on evidence to move forward. And when a parent knows how to isolate, knows how to hide, knows how to stay silent, and knows how to avoid leaving a trail, the system is powerless to act until something undeniable breaks through. This is how a mother can walk free while a 9-year-old girl remains missing. It's not that the state believes she's innocent. It's that the state can't prove anything else. And until something changes, until a body is found or a witness steps forward or a digital piece of evidence surfaces or this mother finally cracks or we get better child protection laws in place, the only person who knows the truth is the one person the law currently cannot touch. That is why the public is outraged. That is why this case keeps people awake at night. And that is why Melodee Buzzard's disappearance isn't just a tragedy. It's a case study in how a child can vanish right through the seams of the justice system with the law standing powerless on the sidelines, waiting for evidence that may never come. It's infuriating. I get it. It's even more infuriating that this is how the system is designed to work. This isn't a case where a judge made a bad call. This is a system that protects bad behavior until the behavior gets so bad that it has absolutely no choice. And unfortunately, when it gets so bad that it has absolutely no choice, usually someone's dead. And it's usually not the adult. Give me your thoughts in the comments section on YouTube. If you're not already there, search Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. That is where you will find us. Please hit subscribe so you don't miss our coverage of this and the many cases that we follow for you every day right here. And please give me your thoughts in the comments section. Until next time, I'm Tony Brueski. We'll talk again real soon.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Brueski and the Hidden Killers podcast.